Hello, my name is Keisha. I'm an undergrad student at Texas Southern University. My major is computer science, and I've decided to interview a few professionals in my career field. Um, we have Kyle Kaprasinski, we have Raymond Justice, and we have Caleb Rahimsday. In the order of introduction, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your career field?
Hi, I'm Kyle. I've been in the industry now 7 years, 8 years. Uh, Graduated with a computer science degree in web design development. I'm working right now as a senior full stack engineer at Bison Technologies. It's like an oil giant shifting into technology, doing payments and ticketing software. And for fun, I'm very much into motorcycle racing.
My name's Raymond Justice. I've been in industry for about 6 years. I got my degree in computer science in business technology management. Uh, Most of my career I've been doing mostly quality assurance, which is like a lot of QA work, so testing. And currently I work at Champion Energy, one of the top three energy producers here in Texas.
My name is Caleb Rahimsday. I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science from Newmont University. I've been in industry for 7 years, coding for 15. Um, I work at Fandango, which sells movie tickets, owns Vudu now, and is owned by NBC Universal. What I like
Okay.
to do in my free time is engineering projects.
Okay, thank you for these introductions. We're just gonna keep this specific pattern going. What would you say your career path has been like so far?
My career path I've just went to college, and then the day after graduation, I started working at Nexio as a payments company, and stayed there for a long while, like 6 years, and went from a junior up to a senior level, and was a team lead for a while, and then jumped over to a company called Leap that does kind of construction and solar contract stuff as still a senior, and then recently have changed over to where I work now, Bison Technologies, still working senior full stack, doing mostly React things, all AWS, constantly expanding my skills.
Uh, so after essentially on my first enterprise, well, my second enterprise at Newmont, which is like a sort of an externship class that we had. I started working at a company called TaskEasy, who essentially help people get better lawn care in their area. Started there as a QA, doing mostly just manual testing, and later in the years of me working there, I expanded to automation testing using Selenium. Uh, from there, I kind of was hopping around, went from TaskEasy to another company called Mass Control, which helped the FDA do a lot of document management. Um, and then from there, uh, another company called Hoodoo, where I started to expand into security testing, things like penetration testing, just all around making sure that software was secure. And now I am at where I am now, which is Champion Energy, where I do a range of just mostly automation testing, security testing, and some data testing as well.
So, oh my gosh. My career path started in the financial industry for a hedge fund management company dealing with data mining, .NET APIs, and database management and optimization. Got poached by my previous manager to go to another financial company, Bridge Investment Group. Ended up developing internal websites and internal toolings to help report generation and display. Decided to move on to a company called Wavetronics that dealt with traffic radar systems, where there I helped build out their cloud infrastructure, identity management system, and web APIs, as well as some hardware code, all using the Microsoft tech stack of .NET and Azure. And then I went on to a company called CoreStream, where again, .NET APIs, DevOps practices, managing my own pipelines, so on and so forth. And then I got hired at Fandango, where now I'm the senior full stack engineer, where I sorry, NDAs, where I help market movies of studios through other ad platforms using our AI system, as
Mhm.
well as develop other API systems and manage my own infrastructure again. So, yep.
These all sound like really interesting career paths. Um, on a day where it's typically busy in your field, what does a typical day at your current or most recent job look like?
Yeah, I mean, my typical days normally, I like to work early hours, so to get on early and start working on either the ticket I had yesterday or grabbing the next ticket from our Jira board I'm full remote. And then we have our stand up with since I'm in like Eastern time, stand up's kind of weird time at like 10:30. And then some days we have a couple other meetings, like refinement and planning meetings, maybe some executive informational meetings. But most days they try to not really have any meetings for me. And so just grabbing the next ticket off Jira board, maybe review some code if other people have finished tickets and have code remerge, and then chugging away, get tickets in, get them merged, get things tested.
So my typical day, I kind of have two forms of a typical day. That's based on how close to deployment we are. If we're nowhere near deployment, then it's, me typically getting whatever tickets that's been assigned to me, testing them, and making sure that they get UAT'd. But if we are closer to deployment, then it consists of me running the automation test suite, going through those test results to see if there are any false negatives or false positives. So validating the automation test suite if there is any need to. Sometimes the system for our QA system typically runs slower than our prod system. So there is some overhead of me having to kind of sift through the results sometimes. Typically, when the tests are run, they're pretty solid. Me and the team have made sure to avoid kind of those false positive, false negative situations. Um, but other than that, like that's really about it. And communicating with the team on anything else with other tickets that may have not been pushed through the UAT process, if there are any in that case. But that's really about it.
So my typical day varies depending on uh, other companies we work with, making my life difficult. So what usually happens is I wake up, get online at 7 a.m., talk to my counterpart in India for an hour or two to get caught up to speed, what he's doing and what he's ran into that's a problem, and how I could make his effort easier. As well as I look at my tickets and just start getting to work and, just left alone pretty much. Then the second form is I have a semi-daily stand up with my team and our third-party consultants because I'm on a data engineering team. It's a bit different from a normal dev team, where we give our status updates and, talk about our blockers. But the third form of the day that I touched on in the beginning, sometimes I get online and it's time to argue with Google devs, Meta devs, or TikTok devs, Snapchat devs sometimes, mainly about integrating with their platform and the roadblocks that can appear from their concerns and our concerns. And then I document everything I did that day in a wiki page. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Get offline at 3.
I guess also to add to my day, I do have a 10:30 stand up every day as well. So
Every day?
every day.
Mine's at 10.
So your mornings generally start with a stand up to get a general consensus of what your days will consist of, and then you break out into your respective jobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. Um, what skills are most important to master in this career field?
Most important skills to master. I mean, coding, number one, you're gonna need to be able to code, but uh that only gets you so far. So like being able to Google well and accurately can help keep you being a fast dev because you're not going to know everything. But then as you experience different things and just see different scenarios, kind of keeping those in the back of your head is how you grow as an engineer. So then that's what kind of makes like a 5-year engineer stronger than a 1-year engineer. They've just been around long and seen other scenarios, built other projects, and they can remember back to them and be like, oh, this is like that thing I built last year. Like I could just build it in a similar way, and you don't have to go through like, oh, how can I build this? So like, what tools do I need to use? And you could like just call on past knowledge. And then people skills is the other big thing. Like you need to be able to get along with your other coworkers and be able to discuss things and be able to have some compromise if people don't want to do it exactly the way that you think it should be built, and so that you can get to a middle ground because everybody's just trying to also build whatever project to the best of their ability.
I think in my skill, I mean, in my field, like just the kind of area in tech that I work in, interpersonal skills are the like largest thing. Because as a QA, you're essentially telling the developer, hey, your code is bad, and you need to fix it. And you can't come out and say it like that. So you have to know how to say, hey, this isn't working the way that it is, and be able to show them that, hey, this is the way you wanted me to do it. This is the way I did it. This is the output that I got. So being able to communicate with developers who sometimes can be very close to the projects and features that they code, you have to know how to break the news. But not only that, but you also have to know how to, admit that maybe I was wrong on how I tested this. Because there are cases where QA people just test features completely wrong because maybe they just completely misunderstood requirements, or they didn't do enough requirement building before they started testing. So, being able to have those interpersonal skills to communicate issues that come along in the QA process is just largely key to being a successful QA person.
So to be a successful engineer, from what I've experienced, is number one is communication and conflict management abilities. You're gonna have to talk about complex ideas to people that might not see the idea and that might have disagreements. So the conflict management helps with those disagreements, as the others have touched on. The second one that I wish I saw more of in industry are principles, coding principles and practices that were set by programmers prior to us, such as dry code that's decoupled and reusable. Um, the simpler solutions are, and the more decoupled they are, the easier your life is, and the faster your velocity is. Um, and the next one is teamwork. Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. Simple as. And then curiosity and criticism. You need to be able to explore new ideas and criticize yourself on, did I learn this effectively? Am I doing this right? How could I get better? Um, and actually, I forgot to touch on this. Design patterns, huge in my line of work. Whether it's architectural design patterns, database design patterns, or API based or code based. And that actually brought up another one, multifacet. If you can solve problems at the database level to mitigate code overhead or architectural overhead, that's extremely valuable. So if you can solve problems architecturally in the data and on the back end code or front end code, you'll be more valuable and be able to handle more curveballs.
That's some really great answers. I'm glad I have this recorded so I can look back on this. Um, what experiences in the workplace help you familiarize yourself with the work you needed to do at that particular job?
I don't know how to rephrase that to restate. I always like to restate the question. That was too long. But I think when I've been going into either a new job or even just in the same job into a new repo, working on different projects that I haven't been working in, taking some light bugs tickets that are come through and gets you at more than just like, oh, read through the code. It's like you can, but you're not really absorbing anything because you're like, there's a ton. They're like, yeah, I'm reading through a million lines of code and I'm supposed to absorb something. But if it's like, hey, like this thing's broken when you do ABC, and you're like, oh, well, okay, well, I can run it and see that, yeah, that is a bug, and then investigate in the code and be able to fix that bug, gets you familiar with how everything is connected together and can help you get up to speed in that repo and be able to start contributing quickly to where like I've started contributing tickets the second day at a new job or just like onto a new team. Like it just gets you up to speed quick, and then you might not be proficient to do everything in the repo, but at least gets you your feet wet.
Okay, I have a follow-up question on that. Because would you say that at a new job, when you're looking at the code of their system, then code management is important as far as fluidity of reading the code? Like, would it be easier for you to find where the bug is in the code if the code is fluid?
Uh yeah, I mean if it's structured in a better manner, then it should be easy to find. But like even just like I've been in kind of a new repo the last couple of days at work, and it's structured entirely different from the things I've been working in for the last year. And so that's made it difficult. But you could still like I'm like fixing a bug and it's like, oh, like the button says like open driver form or of whatever it says. And so you can like search the project for open driver form and be able to find at least like that button and then try to follow the code from there to figure out like what it's doing, no matter how the actual like file structure and how it's all set up.
Because Control F and the F stands for friend.
Um, I guess from my experience, uh, it's kind of a matter of playing with the code itself. Well, I guess the software itself, not really the code. Because since I deal with a lot of the software as a whole, I have to understand the systems from a user standpoint. And it's very hard when you know how to code to think of software from a user's viewpoint because users users can do some of the most offlandish things with your software that you as a tester can never test for. And to get down into the nitty gritty of how a user would use something is very hard because it's constantly every day in my QA life where I get told by a C level or a manager saying that a user did this and they found this bug. And it can be simply as them trying to put numbers into a text box and they were able to, even though I have did multiple test cases on stopping them from being able to do that. Like it's wild with the way that users could use your software and completely break it in a way that you as a QA have maybe never could have thought of. So being able to think of all the nuances and ways that software can be broken is probably one of the most important experiences that I've probably learned in my years as a QA.
So the experience that helped me familiarize in my workspace um, was pretty chaotic across jobs, but there's one thing that's remained common. Code is pretty easy. So when it comes to code, you read through it, you can look at what can be improved. Every code tells a story. So whether team members that used to be there are gone, you can ask the team members that remained about it and start understanding the line of thought, experience level, and what is our domain, who are potential blockers, because people are always the most difficult thing in life in general. And IT departments and sysadmins love to make my life difficult. So I try and befriend them. And another thing, the biggest thing is figuring out the product and what's wrong with it and what we're trying to do and drawing it out. Um, Drawing out the architecture, the system, the UI flow, that helps with understanding. And then I also look for deficiencies uh, really fast because old devs, they're comfortable with certain deficiencies, such as bad login. That happened at one of my jobs. And I pointed out the issue, and it delayed our whole release of a product by a year and a half in order to fix it. So I would say, like, talking to people, familiarizing yourself, going through the code, standardizing the tools. And, if you're in a repo and you don't like how it's set up, come up with a plan, propose it to the team, and get it done when you can. So, yeah.
I do have one more thing to add. As a QA, you shouldn't think that you are not going to read code. Um, I've always been one of those QA guys that's like you should not just know how to test. You should also know how to read code. And reading through the code has also helped me help developers figure out problems where it was simple things like a developer at my current job was using the wrong enum for a customer type, and I pointed that out to him when I read through his pull request, and he didn't notice it until I noticed it, and that was able to kind of help him. So having that experience actually writing code as a QA and being able to read and understand code is immensely just helpful in general as well.
Thank you for that. Um, what trends do you see developing in the next 5 years?
The massive influx of AI stuff and probably shoving AI into every single business application, whether it actually helps it or not, because that's the hot new craze that all executives love.
By
Yep.
AI, do you mean artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence?
Artificial intelligence.
Do you think augmented is kind of like a positive assistance?
I mean, like augmented stuff, like what Google Glasses was doing before, and kind of the if we get more stuff with that, like that's kind of cool. I think that can do cool things, but like the artificial intelligence getting pushed in by every executive that they're like use AI wherever you possibly can. Like if you're not using AI, you're like wasting time, and it's just we're spending money and effort to put it in for little gain or no gain.
And it's very biased and flawed at the moment. So,
You're
yeah.
like, oh, just import AI. We're gonna get this LLM model and we're gonna just put all of our data in it. We're gonna collect all of this data and get a whole bunch of data and we'll put it in the LLM and it's gonna tell us cool stuff. Like that's not how it works. That's kind of how it works, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably gonna be one of those questions where we all just are on the same thing. Like AI is getting to the point where it's like no one's thinking of use cases for AIs. They're just thinking of I need to have it, and if I don't have it, then I lose in the field that I'm in. So so yeah, just AI in general is just what the next 5 years is going to look like. And if you're not learning machine learning as a new developer coming in, then you're probably not going to have a lot of like skin in this game.
So some of the trends I've seen are more pessimistic. One thing to touch on that Ray touched on is you have to have a background in AI/ML now. Companies really want that. It's the new gold rush. The new DevOps per se. So what I see happening in the next 5 years is going to be sad, because it's already started. We're going to see junior devs put towards the back of seniors. Development teams are going to reduce in size thanks to the help of AI. Managers will be cut because of AI, and they'll go to more specialized teams. AI won't get rid of developers completely yet. Now, outside of AI and team structures, what I see from a tech perspective is quantum computing taking over in 2029, which is the Microsoft's target goal. And considering that, you know, Amazon and Google and IBM and Honeywell are doing the same thing, it makes sense. Also, in oh my gosh, in turn, Microsoft said that's when they'll break modern encryption. And that's why we see Apple, Signal, and Telegram, these apps integrate quantum encryption um, algorithms. So one thing about that I find is going to be super interesting that's already been rolled out slowly is quantum computing mixed with AI. The theory is they would truly become self-organized if integrated with quantum computing. Right now, computers aren't self-organized. You have to tell them what to do.
Like the operating
So
system.
yeah, and also biocomputing, if you haven't looked into that, that's made an occurrence this year where they
Mm-hmm.
basically made a brain to be a CPU. But I think that's like 20 years down. So yeah.
I know recently they made a 3D printed heart of someone's tissues
Yeah.
and it worked. So, you know.
Real orcs and crate stuff.
So, how does your career choice help or hinder your long-term goals?
I mean, I think it definitely helps. I mean, my biggest goal right now is I'm trying to travel the entire country and visit every motorcycle racetrack. And trying to do that with a different job would be difficult, but being able to work full remote, I can work out of the back of my van with Starlink on the roof and work from anywhere and keep making my software engineer salary and go to the racetracks like I want to do. So it's definitely helping that.
Um, I feel like my career choice has kind of been very helpful for me. I mean, eventually I do want to move away from QA and move into a more of a project manager sort of role. I've been getting told all throughout my career that I would make a good manager, because just my interpersonal skills are highly great. I'm highly understanding to people and always trying to communicate with people. Um, so I think making that transition over into a project manager, manager role in general will just skyrocket my long-term goals even further than what I have. Um, that's about it.
So with me, I'll start with the benefits. So the beneficial part about it, that I've gotten was I can now understand more complex ideas and systems much more easily than I would have without my career. And that's cross tech and everything, as well as about handling conflict. Would I say it helps me get to my life goals? Kind of. The money is good, but ultimately, I love code, but I hate corporate. And I aspire to create my own company and specifically a farm. So, how it's helped me in that idea is the money as well as the tech that can be implemented in farming and how to do it smarter, not harder. In terms of hindrance, it I'm neurodivergent and corporate has taken a mental tax on me.
Understand.
It's very difficult at times. Another part of it is I've been coding for so long that I kind of fell out of the love. It kind of just feels normal. And but the creativity as you gain experience kind of diminishes because you're like, why should I make that when I could just download it as a library or a tool? Um, and in terms of hindrance, one thing that I have a personal theory about is uh it's been proven that language forms how people think. And I believe that when you code for a long enough time, it changes how you think to where it could be really beneficial, but uh, not understandable by average day people. That's my own theory, own experience. Haven't wrote a thesis on it or anything. But I would say like the most hindrance was the student loan that I took to. Sorry, I accidentally turned off my mic. Um, but overall, I would say it's like 50-50. It has some personal hindrance, but has some opt not what's the other thing? Promotion. Yeah, promotion of getting closer to what I need via money.
But
Yeah.
what is the work culture like at your company?
I think I like our culture. It's full remote, so it's difficult when you're in an office. There's a lot of times where like between tickets, you can just like talk to the guy next to you, or like you're going to fill up your water bottle, and you'll talk to the people at the water cooler in the kitchen. And so, being full remote, you kind of everybody has to make a full effort, intentional to build some camaraderie, and we've kind of seen that problem arising, and so we've started to do some things to fight that. And so, like, we have a coffee meeting that is every day before stand up for 15 minutes. And so you could join, it's like basically you join stand up 15 minutes early, and you're not allowed to talk about work. You can talk
Like
about
water cooler
anything
talk.
at all, but not work with anybody that's on the stand-up call. And so we've had some good conversations, got to get to know people a little bit better, considering like you only see people really at stand-up or like a meeting, and you're like, we're just talking about tickets, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna log off. And so you get to know about people, like, do they have pets? Like, what activities do they do? What do they like to do for fun? Like, where are people at? Because we're from all over the country.
Hmm.
And then about every quarter, they also try to fly all the remote people out,
Oh,
because there are
wow.
a couple people that do go into the office a couple times a week. And so that
Hmm.
we'll have a quarterly event. And so we'll have everybody in Oklahoma City for that week. And sometimes do fun events, like we'll go bowling or have a casino night, have some meetings, have some meeting with the executives to kind of know what's going on from a company level.
That
Um,
sounds really great.
Culture from my standpoint, since I work in a hybrid sort of workplace, so that's 3 days I'm in the office, 2 days I'm work from home. I kind of have way more opportunities to talk to my coworkers, and we're very open with each other, especially in the whole IT department. Like we're kind of always open to talk about really anything. Um, the company culture as a whole is I hate using this word with tech, but it is akin to a family away from your family. Eh. But it like that's honestly how I can sort of you know describe the culture at Champion. I mean, everyone's really close. No matter what you're going through, anyone is open to talk about it. Um, and there's there's no topic that you can kind of avoid, whether that be away from like non-work topics or even work topics. You can talk to anyone about like literally anything thing there.
So the company culture at my company is interesting because technically I have two companies. Um, I have Fandango culture and then NBCU culture. So Fandango culture is super laid back. You get to work whenever you want as long as you get your work done and show up to the important meetings. Um, I go to my boss and I tell him, "Hey, I need this tooling." He just gives me the approval to buy it. Same with chairs, same with pretty much anything. Um, they give really good benefits. NBCU side, they give us really good benefits. Um, insanely good. And, they'll have us fly out to Orlando or LA for meetups, for meetings. And because it's a big company, they have no qualms with doing it. And they promote your learning by giving you a $5,000 budget to go to conferences and other learnings to get certs and help your career. But what was surprising about working for a megacorp is they actually care about your personal time, at least mine does, which you would think is the complete opposite. They allow me to take PTO whenever. They allow me to take what are called my days, which are basically PTO, but free
Mental health
from them.
days.
Yeah, stuff like that. If you want to recognize a holiday that's not federal. And yeah, I would say it's the best company culture I've ever worked in. It's not too culty. Instead, there is a rift between NBCU culture and Fandango culture because Fandango was Silicon Valley tech bro. NBCU is, old traditional media. So,
That's understandable. I'd take every Leif Erikson day off. Um, what advice do you have for receiving feedback at work?
To just always have an open mind. There's especially starting out, but then for the entirety of your career, there will be other coworkers that have more expertise than you or have just built projects similar to the thing that you're trying to build or just have other ideas and need to be have an open mind and come to compromise, learn to throw your idea out the window and maybe go with someone else's idea because when if you're just incredibly stubborn developer, then people are just going to want to include you less in the full conversation and just be like, this is what we're building, go build it. And you might not want to then, but or they'll just be. I have some coworkers that I've worked with where we try to just avoid bringing them in. Like we're like, oh, they may know exactly the information I need and can answer this question quickly, but they're going to be really annoying about it. It's going to be not a pleasant conversation. So people are going to message me instead of them and be like, I could ask them, but I just don't want to. Can you help me? And I'm like, okay, yeah, like I could try. Like I don't know this much, but we'll see if we can figure it out. So just keeping an open mind, try to just keep that friendly nature up.
And just expanding on what Kyle's saying, like just don't be confrontational with the feedback that you read that you do receive. Um, because like the worst thing you can do is someone trying to help you improve and you yelling at them for trying to, have like good intentions on making you better. Like no one wants to talk to a guy like anyone that doesn't want to listen to any sort of feedback that they get. Um, and never think that the feedback that you are getting is trying to tear you down. Um, no one in this industry that is really has like good intentions are trying to tell you anything that will tear you down or make you less confident about the work that you do. Like the amount of developers and managers that I have worked with personally have all been good-willed people. There's been a very low amount of people where I'm like, oh yeah, this guy he just wants me to suck at my job, so he's giving me terrible feedback to set me up. So never go first in mind that this feedback is trying to destroy my career.
So, how I approach feedback is a bit different. I believe that the first rule of feedback is removal of ego and open-mindedness and humility. You need to consider, am I wrong? Are they right? And have that honesty with yourself of being like, did I fail? Am I acting in a bad way? So on and so forth. But you mainly do that because, in my experience, you will run across malicious actors that simply just don't like you, that will give you bad feedback, whether they want you to fail on your tasks or whether they want to beat you down morally. Unfortunately, office politics are a thing, and sometimes critical feedback, which you hope is good, is from a malicious perspective. Um, and if you think it might be malicious, you go ask someone else. I personally ask my team often, about once a month, how could I get better? What flaws do you guys see in our methodology or my approach? And I've had plenty of people tell me you gotta choose the hill to die on. Um, because you hear it from one person, it might not stick. If you hear it from multiple people that you trust and have everything, uh, who wants everything good for you, then it's an issue. So yeah, just openness, admitting you're wrong, and removing your ego. At the end of the day, if someone tells you you're bad at something, you can either get mad about it or go, okay, I want to get good.
That's that's great advice. What would you say to newcomers in your profession?
I think the thing I think I would tell newcomers right now, it's kind of seems like it's hard to enter the industry, but it I always have like a double-edged sword. I think you should not learn the hot new thing and learn whatever the market share is for like front end tech, especially that people are trying to like move away from React and they're like, well, don't learn React, but React is still 78% of the market share or something like that. And so there's all these people like, oh, Solid JS is going to kill React. Like learn Solid instead. And now I haven't heard anything about Solid in months. Like now Solid died. And it's like, you should have just learned React. And so React continues to be the major thing. But then on the flip side of that, that's sort of like the hot new thing is AI, and it doesn't seem like AI is just gonna be like, oh, that was a cool couple of years, and then now it's gone. So like it doesn't feel like it's the hot new thing. It's just like another branch of technology at this point. So being able to utilize useful AI tools in somewhere, like even just like using GitHub Copilot to be able to code faster. Like sometimes it just is wrong, but it can help you. Sometimes I'm hesitating and like I don't know how I should code this, and it's like, well, do you want this 3 lines of code? And I'm like, you know what? That was exactly it. I can keep moving on instead of staring at my page trying to think this out. And so like it's useful to kind of use these new AI tools, but just don't depend on them. So it's like, don't learn the hot new thing, but also maybe a little bit.
Um, I think what I would tell newcomers is tech isn't only just the hot new thing that's coming out, but there's a lot of niche corners in the tech industry that you can really fit yourself into. And you don't always have to learn the hot new thing just to get into industry because there's all of these multitude of companies, both large, medium, small, that have their own tech stacks that will never even need the hot new thing for them to be a successful company. Like there are still companies that just do jQuery and jQuery things, and they're very successful companies. And jQuery is like 40, 30 years old. It's old. But also on the flip side, like if you do want to learn something new, don't just learn it because someone says, "Oh yeah, this is going to be the killer of React," like the solid JS thing. Like just because someone says, "Oh, this is the React killer," like you shouldn't be like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to learn React." Like no, you should still learn React and also learn this hot new thing, like master React and just learn this hot new thing on the side so that if the market does happen to shift completely to whatever that tool is,
Then you're prepared.
then you're prepared. And uh, I know jQuery released in 2006.
I was like, oh, 40 years. I don't know. I gotta fact check that one.
But like just being able to have that flexibility to master the tool that you are confident in, and to be able to say, okay, yeah, I am great at React. I feel confident that I can move into anything else and still have React as my fallback. Just have that sort of parachute on your back that, if markets don't follow the trends, that you have something to fall back to. Always have a plan B.
So my recommendations to newcomers is it's going to be loaded here. Um, I would say study and understand coding principles and design patterns the most. It'll make your life easy, it'll make your career flourish, and it'll make getting a job 10 times easier. Because you'll actually know the principles. Another thing is be wary of other people's code, especially from AI. Stack Overflow, depending on the language, has a lot of good info or a lot of bad info. For instance, I find the JavaScript community to have a lot of bad info to why they implement things. Same with the Unity community, the Unity game engine community. Um, and another one is I recommend learning at least two languages, one front end, one back end. And on top of that, learn about cloud development, how to develop in the cloud, deploy to the cloud. That's a big one, as well as handle failovers. And what ties into that is databases. Don't just stick with SQL. Don't stick with just MySQL. Explore Mongo and other databases. They each have different applications, and you can leverage each depending on the problem. Um, and another one is find a mentor, find someone that's really experienced that loves to teach and wants to teach you. Um, and then, oh, there was another one. Basically, just becoming super versatile in terms of development, but as well as communication. If you can develop on an architectural level, back end, front end, and a data level, and communicate all of it, you'll be a really valuable developer. But the biggest thing is make sure you don't coast. Make sure you're always trying to learn. Um, I believe 95% of industry shouldn't be an industry because of the bar is so low. Um, and that even when it comes to AI and ML, people just import libraries and say they know AI,
Oh, wow.
instead of knowing how to do it from scratch. And knowing how to do it from scratch helps with retaining the information from the libraries, but also knowing how to solve a problem when others haven't solved it for you. So that's my advice, newcomers. Actually, one more. The biggest point: create a project and learn to refactor and unit test. So you learn about decoupling your code. Refactoring will teach you where your code is bad, where you duplicated your code, which is bad, and how you could improve. And it'll make it easier to get into industry when you get thrown into a legacy project and get told tear it apart and make it new.
That is really good advice. So, what would you say is the first coding language that you should learn?
Is that for all of us or me?
You.
Um, I believe an medium level language. I think that's what it's called.
Mhm.
Java or C sharp. Python is too relaxed, has too many libraries. JavaScript, I call JavaScript cowboy code. It allows you to do a lot, but I believe in an object-oriented language in the beginning helps you gain those fundamentals and principles and design patterns that I was talking about. C++ is too old to allow any of that. It's good for low level. It's good for design patterns, but like integrating with databases, it's not that good. Integrating with a front end, it's not that good. And deploying on cloud systems isn't that good. So when it comes to C sharp, I recommend the latest version of .NET. They release one every November. Java, I'm not a Java guy anymore, but hey, it's more generic in industry. So if you want to be broad of companies you can target, you go Java. Certain industries and certain companies use .NET only. But I would say JavaScript or Python for the secondary language, first language to gain principles, C sharp or Java. And if you want to go low level, Rust or Go.
Oh, okay. Because currently I am in C++.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's good to teach. C++ is good to learn about pointers and garbage collection, but it's
mhm.
so painful. It's like pulling teeth.
With your fingertips, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
15 years and I will die on that hill every time.
Okay, well, I really want to thank you all for allowing me to interview you and sharing your special components of your field. I really
Anytime.
appreciate you taking the time
Of
out
course.
to talk to me.
Likewise, I enjoyed it.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
I guess on the newcomer point, one more point I would like to add is learn, 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 know how to learn, and learn how to learn. Uh, this is always be open to try whatever weird project that you have in mind to help as a learning point for yourself. The more personal passion projects that you make, uh, the more topics and principles and things that you learn in general about, just the structures and tools that you are using.
I actually have two more. Active listening is huge, as well as oh crap, I just lost it. Hold on. Oh, I just lost it.
Too active.
Too active.
It was something. Oh, I forgot.
The neurodivergency spreads.
Keep it stupid simple. The KISS principle. Everything you
Keep
do,
it simple, stupid.
whatever, there's two versions. There's the one that industry doesn't like and the one that industry likes.
Keep it stupid, simple doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
keep it stupid
Yeah,
simple.
keep it
Well,
stupid simple.
Oh,
I
keep it
mean,
stupid. Okay.
Yeah, and keep it simple stupid is an insult. Um, but the simpler you make things, the easier it is to change it, the easier it is to maintain it, the easier your life will be. Engineers love over engineering, always. So ask yourself, am I over engineering? How can I make this simpler? And if you can't at the time, note it, come back.
I've received input from my counselor
Oh yeah.
on how things are sometimes overcomplicated to show depth. Like some people would overanalyze and overexplain to show that they know everything about that specific topic. But
No.
if all of your shapes fit into the same hole, why would you make more than one hole?
Yeah, I don't believe in that. Simple as. That sounds like some emotional stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
there's
Ah,
And
there's
what are
no
those? Who has emotion?
yeah,
there's no need to overcomplicate things to show depth. You can show depth in the most simplest ways, and that's what people fail to realize.
but depth is also a way of conveying education. You got to make sure you differentiate. Is it someone pushing their ego on you, or is it someone trying to push a principle and idea home?
Okay.
Yeah, there are people that will push their ego,
Ah.
but they're pretty easy to shut down.
Ah. Okay.
And that's
Well,
someone that sometimes has an ego.
I definitely have to work on a lot after this interview.
Oh, you'll gain it through experience. Failure is a humbler.
Mm,
And the biggest, actually, another thing for newcomers, fail and fail quickly. The more you fail, the more you learn. I've been at companies that hit home the idea of failure being more valuable than value,
mm.
because you've learned something and went through the pain that you can share so others don't.
That's really great. Now I
Yep,
just gotta learn how to get used to failing.
it's hard. It's
It
really hard.
is, especially when you hate failing.
Yeah. Um, the easiest way to fail, I would say, is ask coffee shops for free coffee, and they'll say no every time. And it's a good way to build up rejection resilience.
Mm,
I think the best way to look at failure is if you're always successful, what would you learn?
Y-
If you think
How
of it,
satisfying would it be?
yeah, and that's the best way to think of how to approach failure because out of all the things that I was very successful in, I've learned very minimal about myself and my emotions and just in general. So just whenever you're successful, think about what you learned, and I bet you come up with nothing.
And then come
mm.
up with what you can do better.
So like you can never improve through just constant success.
Do you have anything to add, Kyle?
No, no, I said all my points.
Okay, well, thank all of you, and I hope
Thank
you have
you.
a great day.
You too.
Likewise. See you around.